Shalom. First off, I'd like to give in all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Right, Yahweh, who the world inwardly calls God, and Yahweh Shai, who the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ. Secondly, I'd like to give a double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, who continue to teach this truth, and push us to strive in this truth. And Shalom to all you Akim out there, doing the work of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai in sincerity. Alright, this is a video that I tried doing, last week, and it was taken down automatically by YouTube. But Lord willing, I'm gonna change a few things up, and I'm gonna try to do it again because I think it's a very important video for you to understand. Just to see that the Lord really does create. The Lord is in control of everything, man. The Lord creates certain spirits for certain things, just like how the spirits of the prophets are subject unto the prophets. Well, there's spirits that are created for vengeance, and their purpose is to execute judgment and punishment on people. Alright, so this is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 39, verse 28, and it says, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them." Alright, so who's the wrath of him that made him? Well, the wrath of him that made him is the Lord, Yahweh. Ultimately, man. He's the one who created all spirits. Alright? Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai to say, because he gave Yahweh Shai, who the world really calls Jesus, he gave him the blueprints for everything, for all of life. Alright? It says, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them." Alright, that's right, man. That's right. The Lord creates certain spirits for certain purposes, man. And this guy that we're about to talk about, that Buck, he's no different. Alright, he's a so-called white man who I would say targets homosexual so-called black men. Alright? And you so-called black people, alright, you're part of the children of Israel, man. So homosexuality is actually against your customs, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, you are the Lord's chosen people. And here you are, engaging in homosexual activities, man. And that's against the scriptures. So the Lord sicked Ed Buck on you, on three of you, I should say. Hey, and that could have been Ed Buck's one and only purpose, man. Just for that. The Lord creates spirits for less than that, man. You see? This is from The Root. It says, "Democratic donor Ed Buck indicted on federal drug charges after 2 black men overdosed in his home. A federal grand jury has indicted a California man on charges that he operated a drug den and administered lethal doses of narcotics that led to the overdose death of 2 black men and left a third man hospitalized. On Wednesday, the U.S. Attorney General's Office for the Central District of California unsealed a 5-count federal indictment alleging that 65-year-old Ed Buck engaged in a pattern of soliciting men to consume drugs that Buck provided and performed sexual acts at Buck's apartment. The charges accuse Buck of administering fatal doses of methamphetamine to 26-year-old Gamel Moore and 55-year-old Timothy Dean, both of whom died in Buck's West Hollywood, California apartment. In September, an unnamed third man was hospitalized after Buck reportedly gave him 2 doses of narcotics. NBC News reports that at the time reports that at least 9 men have come forward to say that Buck gave them drugs and strongly encouraged them to ingest drugs in exchange for sex. The indictment also alleges that the wealthy tech entrepreneur used social media and a gay dating website to solicit men for sex. Once the men were at his apartment, Buck would inject the men with meth-filled syringes, with or without the victim's consent, according to the complaint. Buck exerted power over his victims, often targeting vulnerable individuals who were destitute, homeless, or struggled with drug addiction, in order to exploit the relative wealth and power imbalance between them. The indictment reads, noting that Buck often injected his prey with more narcotics than they expected, sometimes when they were unconscious. Buck is charged with 2 counts of distributing methamphetamine that resulted in death, each of which carries a minimum sentence of 20 years in federal prison and a maximum penalty of life without parole. He also faces a maximum penalty of 20 years for 3 counts of distribution of methamphetamine. Alright, so you get the gist. Alright, so this guy, Ed Buck here, which is something very rare, that you see the so-called white man being actually held accountable for his actions. But you see him here, he's you see him and you wouldn't even think that this is the man. Alright, but that's how the so-called white man is. I mean, look at him right here. When he was, I guess, younger. This is him now, more recent. Alright? So, this is the type of, the type of guy, this is the type of spirit that the Lord created, man. And his sole purpose was to put these men to death. Alright? That was his sole purpose. Alright? That was their judgment, to be put to death in the hands of this dude, Ed Buck. Alright? It says, this is Amos 9 and 10. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. And that goes to you so-called black men out there, alright, who are in destitute, alright, who are exchanging sexual favors with other men, for basic necessities, man. You are the Israelites, alright? You are Israelites, man. You are Israelites, and according to the scriptures, what you're doing is off, man. What you're doing is off. And the Lord is actually punishing you for that, man. It says Leviticus 18 and 22. It says, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Alright? So you laying cooped up with another dude, and letting him finagle you, that's a no-no according to the scriptures, man. That's a no-no. Alright, it says it's an abomination, man. And these laws were written for the Israelites. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Anyone else, you're pretty much irrelevant, man. But you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the people that descend from them, man, you should not be engaging in these acts. Because the Lord specifically told you not to engage in these acts. Because you're his people. Here's Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 12 verse 6, and then I'm going to jump to 10 and hit 11. It says, for the Most High hateth sinners and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly and keep them against the mighty day of their punishment. Alright, so that cuts that whole notion that the Christian church says. Alright, the Lord hates the sin, not the sinner. Well, this scripture right here completely contradicts that, and it says, in fact, that the Lord hateth the sinners, man. It says, for the Most High hateth sinners. Alright, and guess what? He's gonna repay you. That sin is gonna be repaid unto you, right onto your head. And your day is gonna come. Alright? For Gamel Moore and that other dude, it came in the form of Ed Buck. a spirit created for vengeance, man. This is verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humbled himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. All right, so man, there's so many things, man. First of all, why would you even trust the so-called white man? All right, you didn't read the scripture, man. You didn't get the memo. Because you're supposed to know that if the so-called white man is trying to help you, or he's trying to engage in something with you, 11 times out of 10, he's trying to get over you in some way, shape, or form. Or you're just a stepping stone. You're just a means to an end for him. And yet you had these men go up in this white man's house and get smoked. Get smoked. Just like that. But why? Why did they get smoked just like that? Ultimately, that was the Lord's judgment. But they also just they trusted their enemy, man. The so-called white man is the enemy of the Israelites, man. Whether you know you're an Israelite or not. So-called white man has a perpetual hatred for the nation of Israel, man. It says, though he humbled himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, all right? These dudes did not take heed. They saw a white man with money and they flocked to him. All right? When in reality, they should have said, something ain't right about this. I'm going to skip out on this one. It says, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. All right? And if you would have taken the precaution, man, and actually seen and had the foresight to really look into that man and really observe him, and not necessarily just right away jump into some action with him, then they would have seen that this dude is just he's just a devil, man. He's just a so-called white man. Understand? This is Romans 1:24-27, and it says, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. All right, that's talking about homosexual activities, man, on both ends of the spectrum, whether it be men on men or woman on woman. It says that the Lord has given them up unto uncleanness. All right, it says, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. All right, so how have you changed the truth of God into a lie? Well, because Adam and Eve were created, all right, meaning male and female. And that's the truth. That's the truth of the Lord. But by perverting that and going men on men or woman on woman, you've turned the truth of God, or Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, into a lie. All right? And it says, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator. All right? You're more about pleasuring yourself and more about pleasing yourself. And ultimately, you have more love for the Creator, for the creation, which is people and, material things, in opposed to the Creator, which is heavenly things. It says, Aman 26, for this cause Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai gave them up unto vile affections. For even their woman did change the natural use into that which is against nature. All right, so the Lord gave them up to vile affections, and that those vile affections include all those homosexual activities that, you know, I can't go into too much detail because I do not want my video to be taken down again. But you can, you know, you let your mind wander, you know. All right. Says, for even their woman change the natural use into that which is against nature, right? Because you have a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm not against men on, I'm not with that men on men stuff," but when two women do it, it's all right. Well, the Lord said that that's off too, man, and He cuts that too, and the scripture explains that. It says that that women left their natural use. All right. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of women, burn their lust toward one another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves a recompense of their error, which was meat. All right. So that recompense for their error for them breaking the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord by engaging in homosexual activities is those things like AIDS, those things like judgment, period, man. Hey, even Ed Buck is there, man. That's a recompense for their error, man. But this is actually talking about these different diseases and exposure to different things that that community is more prone to being exposed to because of their lifestyle. You understand? So no, this was a quick quick lesson, all right, on Ed Buck. All right, and he's just a spirit created for vengeance, man. And Lord willing, I'll make more of these spirit for vengeance videos. But until next time, Shalom. I like to give in all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makakodash. Secondly, I'd like to give a double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to all you Akim out there, pushing the truth. And until next time, Shalom.